Hello, welcome to day one of the 5-day farm animal challenge. This is where I help you decide which farm animals are right for you. My name is Amy, and I am a mom just like you on a journey to build abundance for my family. Today, we are going to talk about what I call the gateway farm animal, the laying hen. We also refer to them as chickens. And the reason that chickens are so popular these days is because they're fairly easy to keep and also fun to keep. And I call it the gateway animal because this will be like the first animal you get. And then once you get a chicken and you see how fun it is, you will want to get more animals on your homestead. Make sure you download the simple workbook to help you decide which animals are right for you. We are on page 4 in this lesson. If you missed pages 1 through 3, check out the intro video to this course. Okay, so our learning objectives today, we are going to talk about the purpose of hens, the cost of keeping hens, advantages and disadvantages, and at the end, I am going to give you a daily challenge. So you can just follow along on your worksheet and take notes as you'd like. So what is the purpose for keeping chickens? Well, of course, the number one purpose is the delicious, healthy eggs that the chickens provide for you. But you can also keep hens to sell eggs, and you can even raise some chicks to sell. And another reason to keep chickens is for pets. And we'll talk about that later on. Chickens can be profitable, but if you are just starting out, I suggest you start with just a small homestead flock to see if you like chickens before expanding into a profitable flock. You will need quite a few chickens for you to be able to make a profit with them. There are 3 main ways to earn money from chickens. That's selling the extra eggs that you have, selling meat if you decide to butcher your chickens, and also selling chicks. If you want to sell chicks, of course, you're going to need a rooster. Are chickens really pets? I'm sure you've seen YouTube videos or videos online of very tame chickens interacting with their owners, wearing little chicken clothes, and you may have even seen the video of the little boy giving his chicken a hug. This video is cute, but typically chickens are not the kind of animal that will come up to you for attention. They are more just an animal that you can watch. And also, roosters can be mean, so if you don't need a rooster, if you don't want to raise chicks, I suggest that you just get the hens. They do make excellent pets. They're fun to watch, and I've even been able to imprint my chickens to come when I call them, and I did that through bringing them tasty kitchen scraps, and then they just learn that when I call them that they will be rewarded. Okay, so what is the cost of keeping chickens? First of all, chickens do not need fancy things. You can see this coop right here, probably a $10,000 coop. And you look at the other coop here on the right, they just need a simple structure, and I'll talk more about that. But what you need to remember is that there's money to be made in chicken accessories, so don't get carried away when you first start getting chickens. Just be resourceful with what you already have. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Chickens basically need 5 things to survive. They need food, water, grit, shelter, and nesting boxes with bedding. So let's talk about each one of those things. First of all, food. Most likely you will feed your flock a commercial chicken feed that you get at your local big box store or co-op. And you will also need a feeder. You can use what you have around the farm or around your house, but it seems that they do better. They don't scratch as much if you have a real chicken feeder. If you live on a farm, you can feed them ground corn, oats, sometimes soybeans, and along with kitchen scraps that you have in your kitchen. Okay, let's talk about water. Again, I suggest that you get a conventional chicken water, one like up in the upper left-hand corner of the slide. Because it keeps the water clean and the water will just last longer. However, you can just use a pan if that's what you have and you're trying to save money. Grit, basically you're going to feed them. It's almost like tiny gravel. So if you live on a gravel road or there's gravel on the shoulder of your road or in your yard, you can just rely on that in the summertime, but in the winter you will want to supplement them, and you can buy grit where you buy their food. It helps them digest their food, since birds have different kinds of digestion than mammals do. Shelter. So you will want to make sure that you have a predator-proof shelter, and I'm going to show you more of that. And also nesting boxes, a place where they can lay those delicious eggs. All right, so shelter is going to be your biggest investment when you purchase chickens, your biggest upfront investment. And here's a couple of different styles. You don't need anything fancy, like I said before. If at all possible, you can use a building that you already have on your property. But the possibilities are endless if you're going to buy one. And it's a good idea to set a budget before you take a trip to Pinterest or to your local big box store that sells coops. You can also build your own coops, but it can be overwhelming and expensive. So my tip to you is to set a budget before you go searching for a chicken coop. The characteristics of a good coop include weatherproof, not insulated, but weatherproof to keep the moisture out. Also predator proof. You'll want to make sure that raccoons or other nasty predators are not able to get in to eat on your chickens. And also make sure there's a nesting box and a roost. A roost is what chickens sleep on at night. They like to be up off the ground, and just a small board or a small stick is great for that. They are pretty hardy, so they don't need artificial light or heat in the winter, so you don't need to worry about electricity when you have a coop. All right, so now let's talk about the advantages of keeping chickens. The biggest advantage, there's two really. Number one, they're easy to care for. They're very self-sufficient. Even if you work full-time or you're very busy, hens do not require much time to care for. You simply let them out in the morning and feed and water them, and then shut them in at night. Check their food and water and collect the eggs. And then on a weekly basis, you should be cleaning your coop. But honestly, since my hens are free range, I don't spend too much, and they don't spend too much time in the coop, so I don't spend a lot of time cleaning the coop. I probably do it quarterly, which I should do it more, so it wouldn't be so much work. All right, and of course, hens produce beautiful, delicious eggs. As I mentioned earlier, this is one of the best reasons to keep the chickens. You'll notice when you have a backyard chicken egg, the yolks are much more golden, and honestly, they just taste better than eggs that you can buy in the store. And your chickens will lay a lot of eggs in the spring and the summer, and even into the fall. And depending on your location, they will not lay as many eggs in the winter because of the lack of light that your chickens have. But it's good to give them a rest as well. If your chickens produce more eggs than you can eat, you can share them with friends and neighbors, sell them, or even preserve them. I once read that eggs are the perfect food. They're healthy and nutritious, and I believe it. Another reason, or another advantage, is that chickens can be garden helpers. When you weed out your garden, or if you have extra kitchen scraps, you can give those to the chickens, and they will scratch through all that and eat what they want to eat. They also eat bugs, and then what you clean out of your coop, the droppings that they leave you, you can compost that and put it back onto your garden. They're a great starter animal, and they are just fun to own. I really like having chickens. All right, so what are some disadvantages to having hens? It's not all positive things. Some of the disadvantages are chickens can be destructive. If you have a beautifully landscaped yard, you probably are not going to want to get chickens, or else keep them confined where they can't get to your flower beds or your nice landscaping. Also, you will need to have a way to keep them out of your garden. I just have a small netting around my garden so they can't get in, and they like to peck on watermelons and tomatoes, and they basically will just scratch everywhere in your garden. The eggs are seasonal. They don't lay eggs year round typically, so there will be a time during the year that your chickens are just freeloading off of you, but they've worked hard for 3 seasons out of the year, so in the winter time you may have to purchase eggs. Another disadvantage is roosters. I mentioned a little bit earlier that roosters can be mean, and they're also very loud. If you live within the city limits or in the suburbs, you probably will not be able to have a rooster. If you do, you will probably upset your neighbors. So the only reason you really need to have a rooster is if you want to raise your own chicks. I've personally always kept roosters, but I've also had mean roosters that have attacked my children. So at that time, it's just time to take care of them and put them in the freezer for a future meal. There is some commitment to chickens. It's not like you can leave for a week and the chickens will take care of themselves. You'll have to have somebody coming and feeding and watering them and letting them out if you do let them out. So there is a commitment. If you travel a lot, you may not want to get chickens. But other than that, chickens are a great animal to have on in your backyard or on your homestead. All right, now let's talk about a daily challenge. So your first challenge is to decide, are chickens right for you? If they are, then I suggest that I'm going to be having a chicken masterclass, a chicken care masterclass. So you can sign up for that. I'll leave a link for you. And then once that course gets launched, I will send it to you and you can get in a special price. Now, if you're not ready for the commitment of owning your own chickens, I want to leave you with an egg challenge. So this egg challenge is called the Egg Independence Timeline. This will help you also build self-sufficiency one step at a time. Now, this is kind of hard to read, but step one is where you just buy your eggs at the grocery store. Step two, and that's just conventional eggs. Step two is to buy free range eggs at the grocery store. Step three is to search out your local farmer's market or maybe an egg stand and buy your eggs there. And then step four is to find a local farmer who you can either go to the farm and purchase the eggs. Sometimes they will deliver eggs. And then step five, again, is to own your own hens that will lay eggs for you. All right, so what have we learned today? We've learned the purpose of hens, the cost of keeping hens, advantages and disadvantages, and we also talked about the daily challenge. So if you're watching this on YouTube, leave me a comment where you're at. If you have chickens already, if you're planning on getting chickens, if you're not ready, where are you on the Egg Independence Challenge? I'd love to know that, so just leave me a comment. All right, so thank you for watching, or thank you for joining me in this lesson. Watch the next lesson to see what other farm animals can build self-sufficiency for you. We are going to talk about meat chickens in our next lesson. Thanks so much for joining me.